So, I'll start when I first started to swim. Right back at the start, I started at Buxton Swimming Club, which is my local club, basically in the middle of nowhere. And I trained there and just did like counties and Devon. I started because my sister used to swim as well, and then I think I got my first national time. I live in Derbyshire, that was Derbyshire's, and then I got asked to swim at Devonshire, which is Derbyshire's elite swim squad. When I was about, I think I must have been 11, and I kind of followed my sister around for a few years, and then I think I was obviously doing nationals, like winning nationals, and then I got asked on my first team, which was school games when I was 13. So I was one of the youngest on the team, and that was my first team. And then I think I won there and got put onto the world class funding program, and then from that, I think my first international team was when I was 14, whilst I was still at Devonshire, which was European Youth Olympic Festival. And that was really good because it was like a multi-sport event. So there was a lot of us from all different sports coming together to swim for Team GB. And there, I think I really surprised myself. I won the 200 breaststroke, the 400 medley, and then I think I got like second or third in 200 medley and third in the 100 breaststroke. And then, so because of that, I became the flag bearer for Team GB at the closing ceremony of the Youth Olympic Festival. And then again, whilst I was at Renshaw, I got asked onto my first European junior team. But because I was one of the younger ones, I think because I did so well at European at EOF, I think I presumed it would carry on. And then I think I only made like one final, and I didn't really do a lot of my first European juniors. And then my second one was in a place called Baku, which was the European Games. And so it was a senior event for all the other sports, and then it was junior for swimming only. And I think for all the rest of Team GB there, it was their like Olympic qualifier, and for us juniors, it was kind of just a bit of fun. So it was like a massive event with a massive village, like athlete village. It was so much fun, and there I won the 400 medley on the first day, and and then second in the 200 medley and the 200 breast, and then third in a relay, I think. So, and then my third European juniors, I got a bronze medal at, I think it was in Holland, and that was a lot smaller of an event. And so I had quite a successful junior career, and I was on cloud nine. Like I found everything easy breezy when I was a junior. Like I think I took everything very for granted. And because everything was going so well, I got asked by Loughborough National Centre to come to Loughborough when I was 16, and I think it was an easy decision for me, because when I was at Devonshire, my parents would drive an hour to Derby and an hour back about 4 times a week, and it really took its toll, and I started to feel very guilty. So I'd finished my GCSEs, and I got asked by Kev Renshaw, who was the head coach, if I wanted to join Loughborough. Like, I knew a lot of people there before because they'd been asking me to come and train with them at school holidays from the age of 15. And so it just felt like the right move. So when I was 16, I moved out of my family home and moved into a big house in this under 18s bit on campus at Loughborough, and I lived with 8 rugby girls and 8 rugby boys and me, and it was a very hectic house, but it was so much fun, and it made moving out a lot very easy for me. And if someone told me that they were 16 and moving out now, I'd think that would be like crazy, but at the time, like, I really didn't think of it as a big thing. And then I joined the scene, and because I was joining a senior program, so at the national centres, they're very, not strict, but they're very professional and they expect certain things. And I think it really scared me when I first went there, because I was like, whoa, like this is serious. And it was in 2016, so most of the centre, well, all of the centre were looking to make the Olympics in Rio. And I think my first competition with Loughborough, I'd done a massive like 10-second PB on a 400 short course. And so then conversations started rising and people coming up to me, like meetings were happening, saying like, basically like people were putting it in my head there was a possibility to make the Rio team. And I think I was starting to believe it myself, and I was like, this is great. Like it's gone so well for me as a junior, and it really got in my head that I was going to make Rio. And then the trials came around, and obviously you had to come top 2, and I was against, it was for the 400 medley, so I would have been against Hannah Miley and Amy Wilmot, who are both really respected athletes, like world medalists, Commonwealth champions, British record holders. And I think people thought that I was going to be there to ruffle their feathers, and I think I had it in my head too. And then when I got to trials, it all just didn't go my way, and I came third. And I found it quite embarrassing because people had put it in my head and I started to believe it. And then when it didn't happen, like, I was a bit gutted. But actually, even to be a 16-year-old, like competing for a spot on a big team like that was an achievement in itself. So then I kind of just carried on, and then I did juniors that year. That was the year I came third. And I think because I'd won the year before, I kind of went as one of the headlining swimmers, and like a lot of pressure was put on me and Holly Hibbert, if you know her. Like we were out, there was articles saying that we were leading out the team because we'd both like done so successful in Baku previously, and it just didn't happen for either of us. I don't know if it was because of the pressure, but we kind of just carried on. And then came around 2017 trials, and I actually made the World Championship senior team. So at 17, I made my first senior team. But I'd kind of made it not by default, but I'd got the times. So to make senior teams, you have to get the times and come top 2, and it's very rare that more than 2 people get a time. And it was a really fast race, and I think Hannah and Amy kind of pulled me along, and I did a 4-second PB at trials, and went 4:37 in the 400 medley. And I'd got the time, and then but I didn't come top 2, so I was like, oh, I'm not making a team. And then a week after trials, I got an email, and I was on the poolside, stood with Dave. And I was like, Dave, I've just got an email saying I'm going to Worlds. I was like, how am I going? Like, what event would I even do? And so I had a meeting, and it was still kind of uncertain then. Like, even the people who had picked the team, they didn't know what I was going to do, like what event. They were like, oh, you can do the 200 medley, but I hadn't got the time for the 200 medley. So they were kind of taking me as a wild card. So we went to the holding camp. I know it was like the team camp before Worlds in Thailand, and I remember Bill sitting me down because I'd kind of made a comment to someone, and I'd said I don't really know what I'm doing or why I'm here. And Bill kind of obviously someone told Bill, and he kind of explained to me, it was just like, you need more senior, you need like, they basically said, we think things are coming and you've got the times, and they're like, we wanted to pick you to give you the experience. And then not by luck, obviously, because it was really bad, but I ended up doing the 400 medley, not by luck at all. It was a very unlucky situation, but Amy Wilmot had slipped on a boat trip and cracked her ribs. And so then I was then to go fill in for her to do the 400 medley, which is the event that I had got the time for. And so Budapest came around. It was my first senior competition, and I kind of thought, oh, this is gonna, I know what I'm doing. Like I've done junior competitions and successful in them, and I think and then so on the run up, my time was 4:37, and me and David had chats of where 4:37 would get me, and it would, like, my eyes were set to make the world's final because I was going in ranked 6th. And so just for training purposes, we'd look at times what would get a medal and stuff like that, obviously to have aims for like to have targets in training. And then so I was going in thinking, oh, I could make a final here. And so I got in, I walked out into the big arena in Budapest and literally froze. I was like, oh gosh, this is big. And it was a huge crowd, and I was 17 and I'd never done anything like that. It was like 10 times, well, more than 10. It was like 100 times bigger than any junior competition I'd ever done. Probably more than 100. There was like a crowd, there was a massive crowd there, like the same size as London when it had the bigger stands for the Olympics. Like it was huge, like it was so loud. And I was in a heat with Katinka Hosu in Budapest, where she's from. So the crowd was going absolutely bonkers for her. And I don't think I realised, but I definitely got overexcited in the first 100, and then it really bit me in the arse on the last 200, and I went PB plus 10, and I was so embarrassed. So I was going in 6th, like there was talk going around that I was like a 17-year-old who was in the top 8 looking to make a final, and I'd just gone PB plus 10. I was so far behind my heat, like I was so embarrassed. I got out and just went, and obviously like when you're on a senior team, you have to think of everyone else in the team. So I couldn't cry around anyone. So I literally had to get changed. I didn't say a word to anyone, and I just walked out the building and went to find my parents, and I just cried. And I felt so bad because they'd obviously come all the way to Budapest. Like there was so much expectation. Like obviously I was telling them what Dave was saying to me about aiming for times that would get a medal, and it just didn't work that way at all. Coming back after Budapest, and I had a meeting with Dave for the start of the next season, and I was like really thinking of quitting, and he was just like, oh, just hold your horses, like Commie Trials is this December, because they'd moved Commie Trials to December because Commonwealth Games in Australia was in March, because that's when Australian summer is. And he was just like, why don't you just see if you can get any time at trials, because I only had to go like PB, I had to go PB plus 5 to make the team. So I think it was like 4:42, and he was like, you can do that, it's like a free trip to Australia, like just see how it goes. And so I ended up getting the time in December, and obviously I was so excited to go to Australia for what was a month for free. And like it was a big team, like a lot of my friends were on the team, and I think I definitely was so glad that I didn't quit then, because I wouldn't have had that experience at all. I had the time of my life, and I think the next 3 years were very gradual for me onto the senior stage. And so obviously I had a really tough time in Budapest at Worlds, and then my next competition was Commonwealth Games, where I made my first senior final, and I came 6th out in Australia. And then I did Europeans, where I think I made a final there as well. And then what was the next year? Oh, then the next year was World Junior Games, and that was a bad. It was very traumatizing for me. So I went to World Junior Games, and I had the 400 medley on the first day, which was already an event that I wasn't getting along with, because I'd gone PB plus 10 on the senior stage. So I always had a bit of anxiety for it. And I really messed up. So it's literally like your worst nightmare. So we got on the blocks. The crowd was really loud in Naples. We were in Italy, and they said, like, take your marks, obviously. But I didn't hear the take your marks. So that I just heard the beep to dive in, and I just stood up, and everyone else dove in, and it was so embarrassing. Like, you literally heard the beep and me stand up, and then the whole crowd go, ooh, like what you hear at meets when something goes wrong. And it was so embarrassing. And they did the like false start siren, but none of the swimmers heard it, and they didn't pull down the ropes to stop the swimmers, so they just let the swimmers finish the race. I was in lane 4, ranked first going into the final, and again I was so embarrassed. Went and found my parents and just cried to them. Dave rang me and was like, they'd given me the opportunity basically to do a 400 medley on my own at the end of the session, and I was just so distraught. I was like, I can't do that, like that's my worst nightmare. And so yeah, I went and found my parents and cried again, had a conversation with Dave again. I was just like, it's just not working out for me. Like, I just have really bad luck in swimming. Like, something always goes wrong for me. And he was just like, why would you quit the season of the Olympics? Like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And I was like, yeah, okay, that is very fair. So then I got asked on my first, for the season 1, I got asked to go to ISL. I got a message off Michael Andrew, and he asked if I wanted to join the New York Breakers because I'd set some decent time short course. And I obviously said, yeah. It was a free trip to Washington, DC in America. And I went out there and met so many people. It was so much fun. And I'm really glad I did that trip because that obviously put my name out there for the second season. I didn't really do anything special there at all. I think the highest I came was like 6th. Like, I really didn't do anything. And then that kind of kick-started, like, right, I actually want to do this now. Like, I just turned 20. I was kind of like, I've always been on the program to like be on the 2020 program for British swimming, and I was like, right, this is like the last like 7 years I've been on the program. It's all come down to this year. So I was like, if it's not now, then when am I going to do it? Like, I need to pull my socks up and go for it. And then I think just before I went to ISL, what really put the rocket up my bum was obviously after the big mishap at World Uni Games, British swimming simply, because I hadn't done a PB in the 400 medley since Worlds 2017, and that's what I was on funding for. And they basically said, like, we can't fund you anymore. Like, it's just not enough us, like, knowing you, like, you haven't been given the results that we need. Like, they showed me all these charts of like how I should have been going up like gradually, and then how it was just staying the same or going down, which it was. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. Like, I didn't kick up a fuss. I was like, I'm really grateful for being on funding from such a young age. Like, I was like, yeah, that's absolutely fine to them. But obviously behind the scenes to Dave, I was like, right, like, I just want to prove them not wrong, but I want to prove myself now. Like, because it felt like I'd lost like so much belief, and I was just a bit like, I need to do it for myself now. I wasn't doing it because I was a British swimming athlete. I was like, right, I'm doing it for me. Like, I've put 10 years plus into this sport, like, and really want to make it for myself. And
Abbie, how old were you at that point?
20. Yeah.
Okay.
This was really not long ago. So I'd been, where was I? So then I was like, right, I'm doing it for myself now. And then the year of at start of 2020, like, my times were dropping without a taper, like, everything was going really well. And then obviously everything just shut down, and obviously Corona happened, and I was really upset at first because I was like, right, it's just started going well for me, and I can't swim, which obviously it was frustrating for everyone. So then in lockdown, I was like, all right, I'm not sitting around doing nothing. And I got a job, and I worked for my dad as a bin woman. And I think that really put things into perspective, because the whole time I'd been swimming, I was like, oh, I was craving a normal job and like a normal, like, non-swimming life, which is like since like 16, it's kind of what you want to, it's like what you crave, like, oh, I just want to jog, I want to do what all my friends are doing. And then I think reality really hit me, like the novelty really wore off. Like, I know it's not a great job to compare it to, like obviously I don't want to be a bin woman for the rest of my life, but it was a real like, wow, like it's so repetitive doing the same thing every day on a normal job. And I think it just really made me realize that I don't want a normal job, like I want to take swimming as far as I can. And like I want to be someone who is going to travel the world, meet loads of friends, compete, rather than do the same thing every day, which is what I would have done if I'd got a job like I was going to do, like sooner rather than later. And then I just really got my head down in lockdown, like working as a bin woman was really hard. I did like 15k walking a day, and then I'd come back and get on the Zooms with the squad of doing like on a spin bike or like circuits in the garden. So I think I had more motivation than ever, which is a really weird thing to say in such an unmotivating time. And then I got back to training, and kind of just
How,
got my head down.
how long were you guys out for? You were about 12 weeks, weren't you?
Yeah, we were 12 weeks. I was really lucky to be able to get back in when I did. I think it was around like late May. But I think when we got back to the pool, there was like a new energy. Like everyone was so appreciative, and you could tell everyone had really missed it, which was really nice. And so everyone kind of just put their heads down. Like there was no competing. We kind of just trained the whole way through. We only had about 2 weeks off for summer, and then I got a text off Michael Andrew again saying like, oh, we've got a new coach, like he's quite interested in you being on the team, like he wants to have a meeting with you. So I had a meeting with this guy called Martin, who was the new head coach of New York Breakers for ISL, and he was like, oh, I'm choosing between 3 girls, and he was kind of like, you need to sell yourself. And I was just like, right, okay, like, so I kind of gave him all the facts, like told him what I've been doing, and I just kind of crossed my fingers. And then the word kind of got round that, so he'd heard off James Gibson, who is like the head coach of Energy Standard, and they basically said, well, if you don't want to, we're gonna have her. So then they were like, no, like she's ours. So then obviously I stayed with the Breakers, and it all just like all my senior career kind of just took off at ISL. Like, I was surprised myself so much. I think I went into the first race just thinking, right, I'm just gonna try and find my feel for it again. So clueless of any other girls. Like, I'm really clueless with big names in swimming. Like, I had no idea who was in my race. I still don't really now. I'm pretty like ignorance is bliss, or like kind of like naive to who's around me, which works for me. And I kind of got in, and I came second in my first ISL race, and obviously like the year before all I'd done was come like 6th. So it kind of just all happened really quickly. And then I'd done like a 2-second PB, and then I got put in the relays and the 400 medley, and did a 4-second PB in that. And yeah, it kind of just took off for me. And then the second meet, I dropped again a little bit, went to a 205 low, and then by the third meet, I really like, Dave rang me, and he was just like, you do know, like in the last meet you were 0.4 off the British record. And I hadn't looked at all. I didn't know what it was. I just presumed, obviously because Siobhan was big on the scene, like I just presumed it was so out of my reach. And I don't think I realized how big it was the times that I was doing. And then I got the British record, and it was just like, I just kind of realized, I was like, this is like what has been like, I've been banking up for the past 2 years. And I was really happy about it. And then I came back, and it was back into lockdown. So I kind of just carried on working hard, and like we were really lucky to be able to carry on swimming in Loughborough. Like I was a part of about, I think it was about 20 of us that were allowed to swim. So I was really grateful for that. And then Manchester came along, which was 2 weeks ago. No, not 2 weeks ago, about 4 weeks ago now.
Yeah, 4 weeks.
And Dave kind of just didn't put any pressure on me. I'd done some simulations in December, which I really shocked myself with. And he was kind of just like, just try and get close to them simulations. And yeah, I got close to them. So I did like a 3-second PB on the 200 medley, and then a 5-second PB or 6-second PB on the 200 breaststroke, which really, really shocked me. Because I've always looked up to Molly, and to be next to her, like, we were both very, very shocked, which was so nice to have that moment with her, because she'd been battling with that PB since Rio 2016 final, and I think we really pushed each other on to get them times out of us. And yeah, that brings us up to now, really.
Brilliant.
I don't really know what else to say. Oh, and I dropped the 400 medley long course pretty much after World Junior Games. I think that's the major thing that's like really helped me in my training and my swimming. I just had a meeting with Dave. I was like, I dread every competition that I have it at. Like, I'd rather do a 200 fly or an 800 free. Like, I've just got some block towards 400 medley, and I was just like, I need to just give it a year off. And I think that was the best thing I did, because then I could focus more on gym and get a lot stronger. And that's really helped me in my 200s. And I think, obviously, I did it for the breakers at ISL, and I did enjoy it there. But I feel like long course is a completely different event. And I think I will pick it back up. But I think it really just made me enjoy swimming again, not trying to chase this amazing time that I'd done when I was 17. And I just felt a bit rubbish, because I was like, I'm 21 and I can't do a time that I did 4 years ago. Like, I'm just going to give it a break. And then it just made all my other events come down, and I was such a happier swimmer. And I think a happy swimmer is a fast swimmer, and I just started really enjoying the day-to-day training. Like, I enjoyed racing again, because I didn't have this worry that the 400 medley wasn't going to go my way. And yeah.
Do you think that one event had a knock-on effect on all the others as well?
I think so. Like say every trials, on the first day I would do 2 400 medleys, and then try and do well in all the other events. When it just like, it would knacker me after the first day of trials every year. And if it didn't go my way, I'd be like quite down for the rest of the week. Or say like competition, so like at Worlds, the 400 medley was on the last day. I was waiting around all week, dreading it all week, and it obviously, like, it just had such bad effect on me. And I think it really just ruined my love for racing that I used to have. I'd used to dread competitions. I didn't want to race. I'd much prefer training, which was never like me at all. And then when I dropped it, I enjoyed racing so much more. And yeah.
Not done you any harm, mate. He's definitely worked out well, that's for sure.
Yeah, like, people fly around some jokes about me doing it again, but I'm literally like, it's not just like jumping in and doing it for me. Like, it is like a week of dread before it, and I don't even know like what it is. Like, it's not the pain that is pretty bad on 400 medley. It was just chasing this time, and I would never think of anything else in the race. Like, no processes would go through my head. I'd literally be looking at the people around me, looking at Amy, thinking, Amy's on the pace, I need to stay with her. That's what I need to do to get this time. And me and Amy would swim the event oppositely. Like, she's a backstroker, I'm more of a breaststroker. And as soon as I'd come up from the backstroke leg, which I'd always lose about 2 body lengths on every single time, I'd come up, see her on breaststroke, and be like, God, I've left myself such a job. Like, this is impossible. And I'd never bring it back, which I just had no confidence in the event anymore. And I think I just had to move on for a while. And I think I will go back to it, because it went well at ISL. But just for now, like, it's just not for me. It's just not my event right now. So yeah.
It's amazing to hear. I mean, ultimately, I'm not trying to blow your ego up, mate. You are the female performer in Britain right now, you know, and it's amazing to hear you be honest about putting an event to one side, just helping you get on with the racing. So that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it was one of the best decisions I made in swimming. I remember when I told my dad, and obviously it was the event that had got me onto all these teams. It had got me to Commonwealth Games, got me to Europeans, got me to Worlds, got me to all my European juniors. That I was European junior champion in it. And my dad was just like, "What are you doing?" He was like, "You're not like." Obviously he would support me no matter what, but he was just like, "What are you doing? Like, why would you drop an event that's giving you so many opportunities?" And I was just like, yeah, but I'm not enjoying. Like, I was like the first like 2 weeks at Commonwealth Games, when I knew I had 400 medley, I had the worst time. And then as soon as it was done, it was like that. Like, I switched and I had the best time. And I was like, I don't care. Well, obviously care, but like, I was just like, where it's getting me doesn't matter when I'm not enjoying it. And so, like, it was a big risk, obviously. Like, I've never made a team on a different event. But like, it was the best call I've made in my career, I'd say.
Definitely, mate. Definitely. Guys, if you want to start putting questions into the chat, if you've got any questions, I'm gonna steal the limelight on the first one. I was just really interested. I'd totally forgotten that you moved into Loughborough when you were 16. For some reason, I thought you were 17, maybe 18. But
no, yes, well, so do I. Like, I've been here 6 years now.
Wow.
Like, yeah, and I'm still one of the younger ones. Like, it's
still one of the babies, mate.
yeah, even the staff just presume I'm like 25, like with the rest of them. But no, yeah, 16.
How were your parents, and how were you in those first few weeks, first month, when you obviously went to Loughborough? I know do your parents live in Buxton?
Yeah.
So it's not a quick journey, is it? It's good
about an hour and 20. Yeah. I think it was quite hard for them because when I moved to Loughborough, it was the same year my sister moved to Leeds for uni. So they'd gone from having such a hectic household and hectic life, like carting me around to Derby every week. And I think it was a real shock for them to, like, not lose us, but like both of their kids move out in the same week. Like, thinking about it now, it probably was really for them because the past like 16 and 18 years. And but I think like it really changed the family dynamic. Like, they obviously, it put a lot of pressure on my mum and dad. Like, they would hardly see each other because they'd alternate who would drive me to Derby. So like, no, they wouldn't both be in the house for an evening together. The weekends would be taken up by competitions, obviously. They both have full-time jobs, and I think they suddenly just had loads of time for themselves, and like the whole family just got on so much better because there was no stress of us, like we'd all see each other and have nice times, and we wouldn't be all like tired and snappy around each other. So it was really nice. And they got my dad started going to football again. My mum started hanging out with her friends again. Like, it was so much better for us, and like definitely like the best thing I could have done for my swimming career and for the family. So yeah.
Good. When did you transition from Kev to Dave? How long was that?
I'd say I was never, well, I was with Kev, but I joined on a Olympic year, the Olympic shift. I was one of the younger ones in the squad, and it's kind of natural and it's kind of happening at the moment. So when obviously we will all train together up until trials, and then it's pretty cutthroat in the national centre. Like, if you didn't make the Rio team, you'd go with Dave. If you did make the Rio team, you'd train with Kev. So I was put in a mini group, which was basically the non-Olympic group. It was pretty savage, but it's like, it's selfish. Like, Kev is very cutthroat, and he's like straight talking, and he was like, haven't got time for you when I've got to train 5 people to go to the Olympics. Like, you're going to European juniors, it's not as big a deal. Like, but I completely got it. And Dave's obviously an amazing coach. And then at the end of 2016, Kev left, so then it was Dave full time. And I think it's kind of happening now, like, and it will, when the Olympic team gets announced, like, it will be more split. But Dave is like, he's making it clear to some of the younger ones in the squad that, like, there is priorities in this squad, and if you're not at the top of the priorities, like, I haven't got time for you sulking on poolside, like, you can just go home. And I used to get, when I was like 16, 17 in Olympic year in 2016, like, if I was moaning in a session and causing disruption for the other swimmers, like bringing the mood down, Kev would just be like, you can't do this here, like, go home. And I'd literally just get out and go home. He didn't have time for people that were going to bring the rest of the group down. And like, it's really taught us all not to moan. Like, it's a very positive group now at Loughborough. So yeah.
Good environment down there.
Yeah, it's really good.
Right, guys, any questions? Anybody got any questions to fire along? Francis asked how old you are, but Jacob's already answered that one.
Well, actually, I turned 22 last week. So.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Happy birthday for last week, mate.
Thank you.
Okay, Charlie. Charlie, would you like to ask your question?
What's your favourite stroke?
I don't know. I feel like it honestly changes every year. It's really biased to what's going well for me. So right now I love breaststroke because of how well it went at Manchester. And I love joining in with sets with Molly and James Wilby. So I'd definitely say breaststroke. But I think it has always been breaststroke because my first British record, my British age group record was breaststroke when I was 13. So I think it's always been my favourite, and I was a bit gutted when I went to Loughborough and they told me that I was going to be a medley swimmer. But yeah, it's definitely breaststroke.
Were you given a choice on that, Abbie, or was it a case of this is what we're going to work you to?
I think it was them saying, like, you're still young, like, why are you focusing on one stroke for so long? Like, I've still not really specialised in a stroke yet, and I think it was a good call. So yeah, I think I was told to be a medley swimmer, and then I think they just thought naturally I'd go to one stroke, and then I just never did. Probably until now, but even now I'm still like dabbling in freestyle, obviously, and keeping my medley going. So yeah, I would say I still haven't really specialised now.
Cool. Sorry, Spencer, you've got your hands up. You want to ask a question?
Yeah.
How do you juggle?
How do you juggle your commitment with training with your friends?
With my friends, I'd say it's like there's like two answers. So when I was at school and swimming, my social life was very much at the weekends, and I just like try and keep in touch for my friends, like make sure that they knew that I like still wanted to be asked to stuff, even if half the time the answer was no, I can't, I've got to go to swimming. And I'd say it was hard at school, but I'm glad I did it for where I am now. Like I'd still do all the social things that I could and do the weekend stuff. And then I think when I moved to uni, like my main group of friends are swimmers, like whether it's in the uni squad or the national centre. The girls that I live with, they swim as well. And then I have my course mate friends. So I do criminology at uni, and I make sure I have like a separate group of friends away from swimming to take my mind off stuff who don't talk about swimming at all. So yeah, I think I don't know if it's about balancing it. I think it just happens naturally, and you kind of find the people that want to support you or the people that want you to like just sit around and do nothing with. Like, I think when I was at school, I did just go and sit in the park in the freezing cold for like 2 hours, and now I look back and I think, what was I doing? But like, it is a thing that, like, you do, and it was fun, but I'm glad that I was very like headstrong and carried on with my swimming, especially at the age of like 16. I was getting so jealous of it was like the Friday night parties I couldn't go to because we had Saturday morning training, and that really upset me. And I think I just thought, like, it's just one thing I've got to miss, really. And I'm glad I did, because I wouldn't have met the people I'm with now.
For ones you'd miss, you gained in so many others, you know?
Yeah, like I have so many friends all over the world now, and it's cool that like I could, like, one of my best friends from ISL lives in Brazil, so like now I've got a free place to stay in Brazil, and everyone's quite close at Loughborough, and yeah, it's just really, it's cool. Yeah.
Fully. We know where you're going after the Olympics, and
Yeah,
they'll break. Can't blame you. We've got Freya. This is a biggie. I don't know how you answer this one. Freya, do you want to ask the question?
What's your fastest and slowest time?
Oh, my fastest and slowest time. My fastest would be my 200 medley. So short course, it's a 2:04, and long course it's 2:09. And then my slowest time is probably like, if I did it like, say like obviously there's really old times in events that I've not done in ages. I think my 50 back's like a 38 or something. But say like my 200 back's not that old, and it's like a 2:22, and in comparison to my other stroke, it's not great. Dave always tries to make me do it, but it always goes the same way, and it just doesn't work out for me.
I remember a couple of seasons ago, I was actually in Loughborough, sat on the balcony just watching you guys train, and David got it'd be September, either August, September, you guys just back in. And he got you doing backstroke stroke skills. So I saw your drill cards and everything. Quite cool.
Yeah, it's always like, it's still now, like, it's always been my weakest stroke, and it's definitely got less noticeable, but it used to be very bad. Like, there's like, when I won European juniors, like the backstroke leg, I was like 2 body lengths behind after the backstroke leg of the 400 medley. Like, it used to be embarrassing. I just used to watch everyone just fly past me.
Well, ultimately, mate, that investment's paid off, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Jess, Charlotte, do you want to ask yours?
Out of like all the experiences you've had over the years, which one do you think's like been the most impactful to your like career, like to where you are now?
I think the Commonwealth Games in Australia, that was amazing. Like, as in like positive impacts, I'd say Australia was amazing. It really opened my eyes to what opportunities swimming can bring you. A negative impact was obviously Worlds, when I went PB plus 10, because it just really like put it into perspective that like senior swimming is not as easy as junior swimming. And then I think my biggest one, which has really shown recently, is ISL. Like, I just gained so much confidence, and I just came back a completely different swimmer. Like, I just came back kind of fearless, and I'd never had a big competition internationally where I hadn't got nervous. And I think ISL, because I was having so much fun, like, I didn't even think about what I was doing. I didn't really get nervous. I was just like kind of like thriving off my last swim, and the whole team atmosphere. It was like an arena league on steroids. Like, it was mad, and I think the confidence that it gave me has like really changed me for a swimmer. So like now, like, if this was any other year, I'd be like so nervous for Olympic trials, but like now I'm kind of just at the point where it's like, if it's meant to happen, it will. And like, I'm not in like a stuck up way, like I'm just nowhere near as nervous as what I was used to be. Like, I'm not in a headspace where I would talk myself out of it and think about the consequences if I didn't make the team. I'm definitely more of a mindset of like, why would I even think about that? Like, why would I think about the negatives? All it's going to do is bring like a negative outcome. So I think like the ISLs impacts me the most because I've never been this confident in swimming ever. Yeah.
It's no mistake that when you're most nervous, most unhappy for swimming, and when you're most happy, most confident, great swimming. So it's an easy equation. It's just how you get there, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's even like the simplest things like I remember Molly Renshaw, like obviously she's so experienced, like she's been making senior teams, medaling on senior teams for the past 10 years. Like she's the most consistent British swimmer I know. Like making her first team when she was 15 at Worlds, finaling then, and she's still bringing back medals every year. And her like motto is like happy swimmer is a fast swimmer. And like now I've become so close with her. She like if a piece of cake's going to make you happy, have a piece of cake. Like normally like I would restrict myself and really get hecked up about like say like my diet or like my age, probably not for you, but like drinking. Like I wouldn't be like, oh, I can't have a glass of wine, like I've got trials in 6 months. Like I'm not in that mindset of like restricting myself anymore, and I'm just having so much more fun with swimming, and I think it's definitely shown recently. So yeah.
Good. Patrick, do you want to ask yours? I think we know the answer to it, but do you want to ask it? Patrick basically asked, which stroke do you not like? Which one do you dislike?
Backstroke. I just get so embarrassed. Yeah, it's just not my forte. It's definitely not as bad now, but it used to be awful. Like I used to spend so much time on technique and get so frustrated and put so many hours into it, and it just never came. And then I think more recently, like it's starting to pay off and it's getting somewhere. But I would definitely like. I got asked I had to do the relay for the breakers at ISL. Like they put me on the backstroke leg, and I turned to them. I was like, "Are you sure?" And yeah, I did it, and I did a big PB, and like I did my job. And I'd say I've got more confidence in it now if I've been asked to do it at a big senior competition. So
how long do you think it's taken you to get that backstroke to the level you said?
It's been like, oh God, I don't want to put anyone off by saying it, but it has been about 10 years, like since I was 12 and it's only just coming through now. I don't want to put anyone off by saying it takes 10 years because I think that's pretty rare, but yeah, it's taken me a while.
I don't think there's any harm in that, mate. It's honesty,
Yeah.
Not everybody just picks. You're a natural talent, but not everybody picks everything up talent naturally all the way through. So it's good. Poppy Garrett, do you want to ask your question, mate?
If you weren't a swimmer, what do you think you'd like to do, or what do you think you would do?
Oh, that's a good question. When I was younger, I was quite sporty and everything. So I was definitely always a sporty girl. I did gymnastics and football, and I really loved football. And then I think when I got asked to do venture, I kind of had to choose one because obviously I'd be traveling so much if I did choose swimming. So I kind of dropped football. So maybe I could have gone into that, but job wise, probably what I'm still trying to do now after my swimming career. Like I'm still doing university degree in criminology. Like I want to go into investigation in the police. Like I'm quite realistic that swimming's not going to last forever, and I'm really like kind of proud of myself that I've stuck at school until now. Like I'm on my last year of uni now, and I'm really glad that I now have a degree to fall back on when my swimming career is done, because I think it would be silly to have stopped. I could have easily stopped school when I moved to Loughborough at 16, but I really did stick at it. And yeah, now I've got a degree to pick up going into the police when I finish swimming.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Good question, Poppy. Charlie, would you like to ask yours?
What was your favourite subject at primary school?
Oh my gosh. I think art. I loved art and PE. I used to think I was really good at art, but I was really bad, and I'm really glad I didn't do it any further. But yeah, I just loved sitting. I think it was probably because it was the one I could talk the most in, but I'm glad I didn't carry it on because I wasn't very good.
Okay. Natty, I think we've got your question on twice. Do you want to ask it?
Yeah. So when I come to like galas races, I'm not I get quite nervous, and so how would I almost control the emotions before a race, which I'm kind of reluctant to do?
I think it's really personal, like how people can take their mind off it. But I think the biggest advice is to take your mind off it. So for me, I'll probably, like, you have all your friends in the call room. I'd literally talk to them as much as possible. I'd be the annoying person in the call room that would be sat there chatting away. And I definitely did that at ISL. Like, everyone was super chatty. And like, you could kind of tell the people that didn't want to be spoken to, like, they just have their earphones in, like, in the zone. But I think the more I got in the zone, the more I'd get in my head and talk myself out of it. So for me, it would literally just, even just like your body language, like looking like you're ready. It's kind of like fake it till you make it, really. And yeah, just look confident, take your mind off it in different ways. Like, your way of taking your mind off it might be listening to music, or it might be like me, like talking. But for me, it's very personal, but for me, the less I think about it, the better. I won't think about a race until I'm behind the blocks, and then I'll go back to my processes that I've spoken through with Dave.
Brilliant. Great advice, I think.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
George, do you want to ask your question?
What was it like joining Loughborough at a young age? Guessing you joined like the more professional lot.
Yeah, it was very intimidating. Like, there was some of the boys I didn't speak to for 6 months. Like, I was very intimidated, and I kind of just kept myself to myself. But it got very serious quite fast, and I think the longer I've been in it, the more trying to help me. Definitely when I first got there, it did freak me out how serious it felt. But definitely now, like, I know now they were just doing it to try and help me and bring the best out of me. But yeah, I was very shy when I first came to Loughborough, because like, it was an age span, like I was 16, the next youngest was like 18, and then the oldest was 29. And I didn't talk to like 3 of the boys for 6 months. I literally used to get so scared when I get partnered up with them. I'm just going to plug my laptop in because it's about to die. But yeah, I was very intimidated by everyone. But I knew like Molly, because she was at DX with me. One second, let me just turn my plug on.
Was Roberto and I'm just trying to think who those boys would be.
Like Dan Fogg.
Dan Foggy, that's it. Yeah, were they still there?
Yeah. So Robert, so Pav, we called him.
Yeah.
He was so nice. Like, I was with him most of the time because we both did 400 medley. He was like so nice and so sweet. I didn't talk to Fogg because he was so scary to me, and I didn't talk to Jack Bonnell, who I still train with now, and we still laugh. Like, I remember like my second session, I got partnered with him in a circuit, and I didn't even talk to him, and he just didn't even notice. Like, it's so, how nervous you are is like, no one cares. Like, everyone's just getting on with it, and I definitely overthought it all. But like, they were nice to me. Like, as soon as I could start doing social things with them, like we all just got on so well, and I love the group we have now.
It's a good group, really nice group, anyway. Cool. Right, guys, I think we'll leave it there. I think we've had more than enough Abbie's time. And Abbie, can't thank you enough. And honestly, wish you all the best for the rest of the season. Hope trials goes well.
Thank you.
We'll be watching with eager eyes for you. Hey, all the best for the future, and the cops will be on supporting you. Guys, can you unmute yourselves for me a sec? And let's have a big round of applause for Abbie. All right, thank you very much, gang, and thank you, Abbie. It's been really, really appreciated, mate.
So thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good luck for the season.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.